A lot of people call Cozumel Diver's Paradise.
We're doing things!
We're ready!
Whenever we go diving as a group, we're ambassadors for Nova Scotia. We're also ambassadors for Lady Divers.
You take the girls out of Nova Scotia, but you can't take Nova Scotia out of the girls.
I have never seen an octopus before. It is really alien.
Yes, it's our sea turtle.
Love sharks.
It was massive.
And that's when they will attack you.
It's absolutely insane.
We were all pretty excited to go on another adventure because that's what we do.
Cozumel is one of the diving hotspots in the world. So when I was researching a place to go for our next dive trip, Cozumel seemed like an obvious choice.
Torpedo Race has been around for 25 years, so they've always planned dive trips that people have enrolled in every year. But it wasn't until our group of friends got really close last year and we all went to the Bahamas together on a week-long liveaboard. Dive it! It was the most fun ever. And so we all left that trip feeling so energized and inspired to not only go home and continue diving and bonding as a group over our love of scuba diving, but also excited to plan the next trip and go on all these other adventures. And while we loved the Bahamas, the diving was amazing. I think we were quite excited to explore somewhere new. Lucky for us, one of our best friends is the manager at Torpedo Race, and so I think April took it upon herself to plan some epic trips for all of us to go on this year. And so the first of those trips was here in Cozumel, which is a world-famous diving site.
The whole thing is just one big dive site.
Yeah. I fell in love with scuba diving the moment I put my head underwater, and it was something that I definitely wanted to get more into. I knew that it would open up the underwater world to me and allow me to travel, so here we are. It's pretty exciting that this year it's brought me over to Mexico.
So total, we had 24 people from Nova Scotia head down to Cozumel. So a good-sized crew, a good size of Maritimers hit up Cozumel.
I mean, when you bring the group of us around, like we definitely bring Nova Scotia anywhere we go.
Another dive! Another day, another dive.
Whenever we go diving as a group, we're ambassadors for Nova Scotia. We're also ambassadors for Lady Divers. I think our group of divers is unusual because oftentimes trips like this are male-dominated.
One of the largest ladies dive clubs in the world, probably.
People don't necessarily think of diving when they think of Nova Scotia.
There's just such an active community of young people of all genders that are getting really into scuba diving, and we're making the community so active and engaged and diverse, and I think it's so exciting. It's such an exciting time to get into scuba diving in Nova Scotia.
Diving in Cozumel is huge.
It is a scuba mecca, and I mean, you can tell just by the scale of the operation here. Like, it is astonishing to me how many divers they send out every day.
On average, there's 4,000 divers in the water a day in Cozumel. So they have 400 dive boats in the water. They average about 10 divers dive boats, so 4,000 divers a day, which I don't even know if there's 4,000 dives in Nova Scotia a year. So the idea is just mind-blowing.
I mean, back home in Nova Scotia, yeah, we have a really great active community, but at the most we'll have 50 divers in the water. I have never been to a place where there's so many boats and so many divers in such large groups all the time.
A lot of people call Cozumel Diver's Paradise.
Mexico is actually one of my favorite places to go to. So when I saw the opportunity for a trip and to go on a dive trip in particular, I was really excited and pumped up to go and see all the sea creatures and the wildlife.
Cozumel sits on the second biggest barrier reef in the entire world.
Second in size to the Great Barrier Reef off the coast of Australia.
There's a lot of cruise ships that do come through there just to go snorkeling and see it. But it is very well taken care of. There's a lot of sea life, and where it's a protected marine park as well, there's a lot of extra care.
I think I come to it from the educational side, where I have an undergraduate degree in marine biology. So I come into diving a coral reef kind of with all of this knowledge in my head about how their importance, but also their vulnerability. And so it is really nice to see coral in front of me that looks to be alive and well.
Are you excited?
That's great. I'm pumped. First dive in Cozumel. Here we go.
It's happening. We're doing things.
It was like a perfect dive boat. It had enough room for everybody. Like, we all had 2 tanks each, so you need a pretty decent sized boat for that kind of operation. And then completely open transom, just jump right off, and there you go.
Let you go. Mask your mouth. We are ready. We're ready.
I liked going to Cozumel because it was always great for diving. You have some shipwrecks, you have your turtles, you have your sharks.
It was massive. I didn't even know they got that big.
Well, the worst case scenario is we run out of air.
It's absolutely insane.
Mexico was my favorite trip so far.
Time to jump into Mexico.
When you're used to diving in Nova Scotia and you have all this equipment and all this weight on, when you go diving down south in the 28-degree water, like, it just feels like you're not wearing anything. Like, everything is so natural at that point.
We're so used to diving in cold water. You wear a lot of weight in cold water. I think on average I would wear, for example, probably 28 pounds on average in cold water, depending on what I'm wearing under my dry suit. In Mexico, I was wearing 8 pounds. So I was like, it's like nothing.
So all of the dives are drift dives or current dives. It's really nice that we don't have to kick too hard. It's actually really relaxing to just kind of flow in the current.
A drift dive would be when you're diving in a current and you're just drifting along the bottom or drifting along in the current.
It was really cool because you're just like jump off the boat and you're like just drifting slowly, and then it would pick up a little bit and then it would slow down again and then pick up again.
The visibility is the thing that struck me the most. There was some 150 feet viz, which in contrast to the 30 at most feet viz we get in Nova Scotia, it was a good treat. I've never done such amazing swim throughs like that before. Basically what we did was weave in and out of the wall through these small and large crevices to see what we could find through those swim throughs.
There were these super tall walls of coral reefs, super tall pinnacles that had all these like cavern systems through them that we could just swim through. Like, we must have been swimming through this beautiful like cavern swim through system for 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes. Just weaving in and out. And you always have an easy exit in case you run into trouble in any situation, but it was so beautiful. Like, Everything was so abundant, and just like the rock formations were so unique.
I personally feel so alien when we're down there, and all, like, you see the schools of fish, you see everything that lives down there just going about their day. Like, this is where they live, this is their home. And we're just, you know, we're breathing from a tank, where we have all this special equipment just to be down there and swim clumsily along. I feel like when I'm down there, I'm just swimming along. I'm like, wow, 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 wow. I'm just amazed by everything.
This was my first time I ever saw a seahorse. So that was a really cool thing, because everybody in Nova Scotia sees the seahorses when they come up, except for me. I always seem to be gone away. So that was really cool.
I have only ever seen one seahorse before, and oddly enough, it was in the cold North Atlantic of Nova Scotia. During the fall months, during all of the hurricanes, some of the tropical fish get pushed up with some of the storms. So it's kind of nice to see a similar seahorse. Rather than being yellow, it was a black seahorse, about the same size, pretty chunky fella, kind of just like dangling and hanging off for its dear life so that it wouldn't drift away with the current. It was pretty cute to see it swim a little bit and then wrap its tail around a piece of coral so that it wouldn't drift away.
The barracudas that were there, they were so friendly, and they would like swim right up to me, and I'd be like looking them in the eye, and me and the barracudas would like have a stare off, and then I'd be filming them. And they get quite big, like they can get like 5 feet long, right? And they're chonky, and they got like these little teeth, and I just love them because I think they're so ugly, they're cute.
I have never seen an octopus before. They're the coolest things because, like, the way they move, they have these tentacles. They look really soft. And they stretch themselves and move themselves along in a way that's, it is really alien. And you can actually see their color changing, like really, like, I don't know, it's so fluid, and they're amazing creatures. I would love to research octopus. They're so incredible.
Probably my absolute favorite moment was when I got really close to a stingray. And I've never really gotten a video one eating before. And he was there, and he was on the ground, and he was just like this, and he just kept going like this, and he was just like eating his food, and then he saw me, and he was like, oh, gotta go. So he started swimming away. But the fish that was like above him was probably like a foot and a half long. So he was really large, and he was just chill. He was just sitting there eating off the grass and the sand, and then away he went, but it was just stunning.
The spotted eagle rays were really cool to see. That was my first time seeing those, and they were just beautiful. The way that they would fly over the groups, and you would kind of see them come in, and they're almost like flapping their wings kind of thing, and they would just soar right over. They would do a full pass of everybody.
And it almost is like he saw us and swam towards us and came right by. And all of us were super excited.
It's eagle ray season here in Cozumel, so it was really exciting to see these creatures. I had seen spotted eagle rays previously, but it was really nice to be able to see such large ones. I don't know if it's because they're more adult populations than the one we're used to, where I've been diving before, but these ones were really big. When I first saw them, they almost looked like manta rays, because you just see the silhouette of them kind of flying in the distance, and it really looked like something larger than what I imagined a spotted eagle ray to look like.
They're kind of seasonal residents around here from about December to March, so we're in prime eagle ray season, and they're a member of the stingray family, and they are just so massive. You you really only get a sense of their size until they swim by you, and you are just in awe of how beautiful they are and how like streamlined they move in the ocean. It's so impressive, and it's cute when you see them like rub against the sand, like they do like a little dance, and they eat all sorts of like crustaceans and conch and stuff like that, and they use their cute little snout to crunch down on all the food that they eat.
They're so majestic. Their wingspan is about 9 feet. It can be up to 9 feet. And when they wave, it's just like they're like an actual eagle soaring in the air is like what their wings do. It's just like soars under the water. And they all have a different pattern on them. So their dots that are on them are all a different pattern, almost like a fingerprint. It's surreal. It's just so surreal. We saw sometimes 2 at a time, sometimes 3 at a time. That was actually my first time seeing an eagle ray.
They do kind of fly through the ocean like an eagle. Like it's a cool movement, like so relaxing.
You have like this tranquil moment with this eagle ray. You're in a different type of world almost.
And you're just like in this tiny space with this huge thing, and I'm just like swimming away like nope.
Top 5 dives in my entire life.
The whole time, my goal in Cozumel was to see a sea turtle.
Previously on our trips down south, we haven't had a lot of luck with turtles.
We went over into kind of the grassy area to go search for sea turtles. And Julian, our guide, all of a sudden he starts banging on his tank and he's pointing, and I'm like, yes, it's our sea turtle.
The turtles like to graze on all the grass. And little do you know, we stumble upon this green sea turtle who didn't have a worry in the world that there was divers around him. He was just munching away on the grass, having a great time.
We had a group of 8 divers with us, and we did, watch the sea turtle for a few minutes, and it didn't seem to mind that there were all of us kind of surrounding it, but still being respectful.
And they're so unbothered by everything. Like they are really like so chill. When you see a sea turtle swimming along, they're not bothered by anything.
So magnificent. And green sea turtles are actually really interesting. They eat so much grass that's where they get, they look a little bit green on their skin and their heads, like they have like a green pigment, and it's just because of their diets. So that's really interesting, and that's a good way to differentiate a green sea turtle from some of the other sea turtle species.
That was definitely one of my highlights of the trip.
Love sharks. I know that some people are afraid of sharks, but I absolutely love sharks. Divers are not afraid of sharks.
I was actually explaining this to a friend who's traveling down south. He's like, I'm so afraid. Like, I don't want to go snorkeling because of the sharks. I'm like, we go diving because we want to see the sharks, and then we don't see them. It's really disappointing. But I don't know. I think there's such a stigma or this preconception about sharks that they want to hurt you. They want to bother humans, but they really don't. If you ever have encountered a shark in the water, for the most part, they're just keeping to their business. They'll see you and they'll turn the other way. They really, unless you look like a seal or you look like food to them, they don't want anything from you.
For the most part, there's something in the ocean that we strive to go see, so it was really exciting when we saw our first nurse shark.
I actually saw a nurse shark, so I was really excited about that.
That was super, super great. He just looked so sleepy, like didn't have a care in the world that there was like a group of divers surrounding him. Yeah, I've always wanted to see a nurse shark, because in the Bahamas, we saw one around the boat. We weren't underwater at the time. We saw one kind of just from the boat, but that was my first time seeing a nurse shark in the water.
They're kind of sleepy sharks. They'll often just kind of sit in a little crevice on the bottom of the seafloor and rest. So that was really nice to be able to see a nurse shark in its natural habitat.
I saw 4 nurse sharks. I think every nurse shark that there was, I saw it, which was awesome. And they ranged in size, probably from 5 foot was about the juvenile, up to probably 11 feet. And they were so docile, and you could tell they were sleeping, so they would just lay in the sand, and they would just lay there like this, and like kind of have their eye like creeping open at you looking. They are like really friendly and safe type of sharks, but you also have to be careful with it because where you go to different resorts and different excursions and they're like, swim with the nurse sharks, swim with the mantas. Well, everybody's doing that, and at some point they're gonna get annoyed, and that's when they will attack you. So you do wanna give them the distance. You don't wanna touch them. You don't wanna be like really in their space. It's fine to be like relatively close, but you wanna make sure that you're not pushing that boundary. Extremely important to remember you're a visitor in the ocean. It's probably one of the main things you need to remember when you do go in. It's not like a shark's just coming into your house, right? So that's what we're doing to them.
You know, you dream up these dreams in your head and you make these plans, but when they come to life and it's happening right in front of you, it is very surreal. You know, to sit at my desk and think, oh, it'd be cool if we all, got to go to Mexico. And then all of a sudden, flash forward and we're in Mexico. And you see these friendships form. We've been on multiple trips together. We have multiple more planned. And it's just really neat to see all the connections.
I feel like home is less of a place and more of kind of a mindset. And anytime I'm by the ocean, I feel like home. You can take the girls out of Nova Scotia, but you can't take the Nova Scotia out of the girls. And we like to represent Nova Scotia anywhere we go. It's always fun within the dive community to tell people that we dive in Nova Scotia in the North Atlantic. People get a real kick out of that and think that we're a little bit crazy. It gives us a sense of pride, I think, to come to all these really beautiful destinations that are really popular dive sites all across the world, and to make sure that people know that people dive in Canada, and it's not just in Cozumel that people travel to from all over the world, but people dive all over the world, warm and cold climates.
I got into scuba diving because of the opportunities to travel the entire world. There are similarities between all of the reefs that I've been to, but there are more differences than there are similarities. So by exploring Cozumel, it just kind of makes me more excited to see what else there is to see. The ocean is the last frontier, it's the final frontier. So, I mean, come on, how could you not jump in and explore the unknown?
Diving in Mexico has been so great so far. Next on the list, underwater caverns and shipwrecks.